Hall.
Mississippi State, over, under, exactly where I thought. Based on my preseason prediction, they are exactly record-wise what I thought they would be.
Yep, same here. Literally, I literally had them losing to LSU, Kentucky, and Alabama at this point.
Trying to remember. I don't remember I can't remember if I predicted 7 or 5 and 8 and 4. I think both of those are still on the. Was that Jack Crystal?
What?
I just heard a voice pop up, and it sounded like Jack Crystal's voice. I have no idea where that came from. I got nothing up. Anyway,
We got some auditory hallucinations happening here.
Maybe so.
In the land of milk and honey.
I had them beating Memphis. I had them beating Arizona. Losing at LSU, beating Bowling Green. So that was off to a 3-1 start.
Mm-hmm. I think you had them losing to Arkansas. But you may have had them beating Kentucky, so I don't know.
No, I had them losing to Kentucky and Alabama, and I think splitting with A&M and Arkansas.
Okay, so a little better then.
So State's 5 well, no, right where they would. I had them losing to LSU.
No, you got them 4-4.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So maybe a touch better.
Yeah.
And Ole Miss, 7-1 right now.
Don't you have to kind of spit the taste of last week's game out of your mouth and look at the entire 8-game deal?
If in August
Absolutely.
I told you Ole Miss is going to start 7-1, your reaction would have been?
I think you're right. I think Ole Miss is where I thought they were going to be. Now, there was a little bit of hope that was mixed into that, but you guys remember, I had them beating Kentucky. And so I was looking at them being 5-0 after Kentucky and 7-0 going into Baton Rouge. They were 7-0 going into Baton Rouge. I didn't think that it would look like that in LSU.
Yeah. I have. They are definitely overachieving for me because I had them losing to Kentucky. I had them 6-2 at this point, so they're 7-1. They're ahead of schedule.
If they beat A&M, and what's crazy is I was reminded this week that this was supposed to be a rebuilding year. Remind yourself of what they lost last year. They lost one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in that uniform, the entire running back room, 3 wide receivers, both starting linebackers who are on NFL rosters, a pass rusher that had 16 sacks last year in a 3-2 defense, and both coordinators. And if they get to
That's
the bye
a lot
week
when you say it out loud.
Yeah.
But I feel like you need to put names with that, right? As opposed to just kind of randomly. Most people know the names. But first of all, an all-time great at quarterback, one of what, you argue it however you want to, but one of the either 3 or 4 best quarterbacks to ever play at Ole Miss and Matt Corral. They lose Ely and Snoop Connor.
And Parrish, all 3.
And Parrish.
Oh, yeah, and Parrish also. They lose Chance Campbell, so important a year ago. And Mark Robinson, converted running back that just turned into a really good linebacker. Hey, there's another one, though, that you're not mentioning, Borky. They lost Jake Springer.
And
he was a really important piece on that defense. And then they lose Sam Williams, who's a dominant rush end.
And Dean Leonard made the Chargers. So there's a defensive back that's on a 53-man in the NFL.
I forgot about Dean Leonard.
And also, don't forget, from a coaching perspective, both coordinators. I know we joke about Lebby and all that, but there is continuity there, having Lebby and not having Dirk. And that's a ton of loss. Ole Miss is definitely overachieved. Even if you had them predicted at this point, they've played better than – I think that you would have to say they've played better. They look better on the field than you might have thought they would have.
Getting to 8-1 despite those losses would be a remarkable accomplishment. That would say a lot about the person running the program. a lot because people are so focused on the Twitter and the stories and the leaving Tennessee and all that. That would say a lot about the coach.
100% agree. I mean, that's completely fair. Completely fair.
And even being at this point where they are says a lot about the coach.
When they do the CBS Sports coach rankings next year that we go over every year, Kiffin should be in the top 10. And if he finishes 10-2 somehow, I don't care what he should be.
Oh, I agree with that.
And if he finishes 10-2, I mean, you can start making the argument like he's the best coach who doesn't have a national title.
Message that says the transfer portal will eliminate the term rebuilding year. I'm not sure that I agree with that everywhere.
Those are still new additions to your program.
And they still have to be good. Just because you go get transferred doesn't mean they're going to be good.
And oftentimes there's a reason guys are in the portal. Some cases, like Troy Brown, who's been good despite being injured everywhere, sometimes guys want to move up a level to prove their worth for draft purposes. He was playing at Central Michigan, right? So natural move to the SEC. Some guys are in the overwhelming majority of guys are in the portal because things aren't working out for them where they are. They're not playing enough or whatever. So it's not like, wow, you can do good things in the portal, obviously. But you can't just, I'm going to go get a left tackle, and there's just a plethora of left tackles that you can just go grab and they start right away for your team. It's not really how it works.
Dale in the Delta says, maybe, but Ole Miss has played 2 borderline to good teams, and they got blown out by 1. Let me ask you this, Dale. When the team that you cheer for has a really good season, by historical standards, Dale's a State fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So historically, a good season at Mississippi State and at Ole Miss, but we're talking about Mississippi State here, is an 8 to 9 win season. That's a really good year. A 10-win year is a banner year. When you think back about those teams, do you go back and pick apart the schedule and see who they played and what they were like when they played and whether or not it was a strong strength of schedule, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Or do you just look at the record and go, man, won 9 games that year. What a great season that was.
Do you care about the Arkansas win because KJ Jefferson didn't play? Does that take the W off the board for State? Because I don't think so.
No. I mean, I understand, Dale, that like maybe you need to point out that Ole Miss isn't as good as they're getting credit for because they haven't played a good enough schedule, and that's fine. But if Ole Miss finishes this season 9-3 after what we talked about they lost from a year ago, and Ole Miss fans look back, was it going to be a good year? Yeah. And frankly, they may be a little bit disappointed if it's not